Tuesdays about this time, it's a visit from Ron the Car Guy from Westside Auto Pros as we learn something about your vehicle.
We are. We're going to learn something today, or I hope we learn something.
All right, what are you going to learn us?
Last week we just touched briefly. We were talking about what I called the U-turn button, and we touched briefly.
Yeah. By the way, before you go one step further, I had 3 people ask me or talk to me about that, and in brief they said just have them repeat. If it's cold outside, do we have it on or do we have it off?
We have it off when it's cold outside.
When it's cold outside, you have it off.
We do not use it. That is made for those hot summer days.
All 3 people asked the same question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good,
all right.
Good, thanks for asking.
Okay.
But we touched briefly on cabin air filters. We've talked about them before, and since then I had a few emails and some questions, touching base on cabin air filters again. So I thought we'd segue into those and talk about those a little bit more. And this is what a cabin air filter looks like. It's nothing elaborate. A lot of times, some of them will have like a charcoal activation in there to help, remove some of the pollen and the allergens. But it's really just kind of like a mini filter, like you put in your furnace.
Right.
And it's something that I call it the forgotten filter, because oftentimes it is either up under the dash or you go in under the hood and people forget that it's in there. And there's a couple of things about it. One, it helps provide you better comfort in the car. I mean, it removes pollen and allergens. It helps prevent the mold and the mildew that build up in the heater and air conditioning system. But that isn't the reason the manufacturers came out with these for the vehicles. The reason that they came out with these is there's 2 components in the car. One is a heater core. And this is what, I was going to make a comment on those cups. There's no Great Day cups left over on the counter. Would all the guests who came in and stole the Great Day cups bring some back?
Yeah,
exactly.
I have one on my desk.
Yeah, exactly.
I
had to go with the styrofoam
you can take
this
mine
morning.
if you're brave.
Yeah, but anyway,
Great Day on it.
Back to the heater. This is actually this is what they call the heater core. And the engine antifreeze goes in, circulates through, and the fan blows air across. It's like a little radiator, and that's what creates the heat. And then this component is the evaporator core, and it works similar to the heater core, except the refrigerant, the Freon, goes through there, and it makes the cold air. What they've done over time is they've made these components smaller. And so it used to be we didn't care if pollen and dust and dirt blew into these and plugged up some of the fins, because they were big enough.
They were wide enough.
Exactly, that it didn't matter and it didn't affect the performance. They've shrunk these components down to where now they've got to filter the air so the dirt and dust doesn't plug them up.
Now, a lot of the surface area is there, but they're deeper. So if you're blocking the front portion of it, you're blocking a lot of it.
And in general, they actually are smaller.
Oh, in general? Okay.
Yeah, and the reason for that is...
This thing?
Yeah.
Did you like that, Jason?
Yeah.
Okay.
See that thing.
The reason for that is corporate fuel economy. They call it CAFE, corporate average fuel economy. The federal government has mandated that by the year 2024, which it sounds like it's a long ways off, but it isn't. By the year 2024, the average fuel economy of a manufacturer's car has to be 54.5 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
That's a federal law.
Really?
Yeah, that's a mandate.
Whoa.
And so what the manufacturers are having to do is they're having to put cars on diets. They're making everything smaller and lighter to try to lighten, and they're trying to. I mean, they're headed towards that. I mean, you can't in 2023 you can't have an average fuel economy of 25 miles to the gallon and then go to 54 the next year. They've got to work up to it,
right?
Which is why they gave them some time, but. We're seeing drastic changes in cars. I mean, fuel systems on cars have changed, and they're creating maintenance problems. But that's why the cabin air filter was designed. I mean, the benefit to you and I is we have better comfort in the vehicle and better air quality and stuff. But it was actually designed, this doesn't weigh very much, it was designed to protect these components that are now smaller because we're trying to lighten the cars up. I read somewhere where I think for 2017, Ford's goal is to lighten their cars up across the board by 220 pounds.
Wow,
that means more plastic, more composites, and that kind of stuff.
So what happens if one of these gets clogged up? What happens to our vehicles?
That's a great question. If one of those gets clogged up, we don't get enough air through it, and then the complaint is in the wintertime, my heater doesn't work. My car doesn't get very hot, or it takes a long time for my car to cool down, my air conditioning.
Right.
And it's hours to get to these components in a car.
They're not easy to get to.
6, 8, 10 hours. I mean, we're removing the steering wheel, the steering column, the whole dash.
Wow.
They're not made to be serviced often.
Even though they've changed the design of them, they're still
they didn't make it any easier to work on. And there are there's some products, some chemicals that we can inject, into the dash to try to clean some of the dirt and stuff off. But it's not always that effective. I mean, we have physically replaced these components because this becomes plugged first,
right?
And so you don't have airflow. And so some people take this out and throw it away, and then
the
this
airflow's better.
It works awesome, and then this becomes plugged, and they can't get to this to throw it away or take it out. So then they come see us.
All right, okay. What's the cost?
Well, how do we know about that if that's not easy to get to either?
Well,
how do we know about the condition of that?
You have to ask, and in some places, I mean, I can only speak for Westside Auto Pros. On most cars, we check this every oil change.
Okay.
There's 2 or 3 models out there where it's over a half hour to get to this. It'd take longer to check this than change the oil. But on most cars, we pull this out and physically inspect it with each oil change. You mentioned cost.
Yeah, cost of this as opposed to replacing this.
Something like this can be $800 to $1,000. This on average can be $40 to $60.
And how often do you need to change it?
At least once a year, and it depends on outside conditions.
Can you blow them out with air?
They're pretty thin. I wouldn't do that, especially when you go through the work of getting it out. I mean, it'd be better than doing nothing.
Right.
If you live in an area where they're doing construction or new home construction, there's a lot of dust. I mean, whatever is on the outside of the car
on the inside.
is being sucked in here by the fan.
Ooh, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. So, but we do have a special.
You do?
We've
Great
got
Day
we've got the KCWI Great Day Special now through the end of February. Come on in. We will replace this filter for $23. I'm so glad I'm not on Channel 5. We will replace this for $23.
No comment.
We can arrange that soon.
That's parts and labor now through the end of February. So if you don't think you've had it, changed, or it hasn't been changed, in the last year, I mean, that is a heck of a deal. Or if you're just not sure if your car has one or the condition, you just want it looked at, just stop in. We'll pull it out and take a look at it for you. It's kind of like a conch shell there a little bit.
Not a good brass instrument.
No.
You're not going to have very many people
keep
tapping their
working
foot
on
to
it.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if I can return that now. It's been on. Well, maybe it's worth more.
worth more now,
It's
yeah.
a touch Jason's mouth.
All
Absolutely.
right, so the deal is $23. You get the whole thing replaced. Labor
Absolutely,
included.
absolutely. On
right.
any car.
Perfect. And
Yep.
tell everybody where to go.
You can find us at westsideautopros.com. We're conveniently located in Clive. Our phone number's there on the screen, 225-9090. And we'd love to take a look at your cabin air filter.
Great job,
Always
man.
great to see you around. Here's your new Great Day mug.
Oh, hey, there we go.
Do you like it?
Look, oh, yeah.
See, what are you talking about? We don't have customized mugs.
There we go.
That's the beauty.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, Ted Stevens got a new budget for mugs, evidently.
So I have a collector's item, apparently.